This is 5 Minute Feng Shui Podcast, episode 132, The Power of One. Welcome to the 5 Minute Feng Shui Podcast, where each week I talk about how to move energy and make money. You'll learn how to create a prosperous home and an abundant life using classical Chinese Feng Shui. I'm your host, Katie Weber, publisher of the Red Lotus Letter, Feng Shui Easing for Wealth. Each week, I'll cover Feng Shui topics that can help you improve your life, share inspiring stories, and always end with 3 easy-to-implement Feng Shui tips that you can put to work right away, and usually in about 5 minutes. Now let's get started on the 5 minutes that could change your life. Hello there, my Feng Shui friend. How's your week going? I hope you're having a terrific week and enjoying some beautiful weather wherever it is that you are, or enjoying something wonderful. No matter what you're doing or where you are, maybe you're just kicking back and listening to this podcast. Maybe you're cleaning your house. Chances are you're doing something besides listening. Maybe you're walking. I love to listen to podcasts while I walk. I just feel like I'm learning something, and my mind is expanding, and my body's busy. So that means my mind is taking in even more of that information. I love the idea of your body being occupied physically, so your mind becomes like a sponge. It's sort of that shower effect. You know how many people say they get their best ideas in the shower? Why is that? Because your body's busy. You're shampooing your hair. You don't have to think about it. You know, you put your soap in your hands, and then you go about lathering it up and getting your hair all soapy, or washing your face, and you're not thinking about what you're doing because your body knows what to do. But it's wonderful because it frees your mind. And I love the idea of your mind being able to be open and absorbing a new idea, or being open enough for a creative thought to come through. I think that's a wonderful thing. Well, today I want to tell you about something that personally was very life-changing for me when I heard it. And this was something that I heard of from a well-known speaker. His name is Brian Tracy. He's no longer with us, but if you listen to Zig Ziglar or anybody like Tony Robbins from back in the day, any of the motivational type of people and personalities, this is someone that I just personally loved to listen to. I loved it. He was super, super practical, very pragmatic. And I remember him saying one time, I was listening to one of his cassette tapes. Yep, I'm dating myself. Anyway, I was listening to a cassette tape, and he was saying, what is the one thing standing in the way of your fill in the blank, happiness, success, relationship, whatever it is? What is the one thing? Because most of the time people have one thing that is stopping them. For some people, it could be that they didn't finish their degree. And they don't feel like they're making the money that they want to make. Or for other people, it is maybe they're alcoholic and they have a problem managing addiction. Maybe for other people, it is some type of impediment in their life, whether it's, maybe they feel like their mother didn't give them enough attention and that's why their life sucks, or whatever it is. But we usually have this one thing that gets in the way of our happiness. And when I heard that, it was really transformational for me, because as a Feng Shui expert, I don't like saying that. I don't know why, but I don't like to just come out and say, I'm a Feng Shui expert. But as a Feng Shui consultant, how about that? As a Feng Shui consultant, one of the things I look at is numbers. And in fact, I even used to say in my training classes that I don't think about Feng Shui in terms of east or west or elements. I think of it in numbers, because all of a sudden it made more sense to me. I can say a number and that means everything. And it means, like, for instance, the number 2 means big earth. That means relationship sector. That means the mother of the house. That means, or the breadwinner, if you're the breadwinner's a woman. It means marriage prospects. It means the stomach and abdominal region in health. These are all those kinds of elements. It relates to this, and this is something that, to me, when I think of numbers, I think about that just opens up the world of Feng Shui to me. But I remember hearing Brian Tracy talking about the one thing. I started thinking about that after I had listened to that, and I had a one thing that came up in my mind, and it was a decision that I was putting off, and I knew I needed to make this decision, and after I heard that, I felt like I was ready to make that decision, and so it was a really important, an important one in my life, and I made it, and I was glad that I did. But then I thought about it from a feng shui perspective. And from feng shui perspective, the number one relates to water. And it's interesting that if you look at the numbers in feng shui, the number one relates to water, and the number nine, the last number basically, because we really only have 9 numbers outside of zero. We have 9 numbers, and then once you start putting zeros or ones in front of them or what have you, then you get into other numbers. But really, the main numbers that we use are 1 through 9. 1 is water, and 9 is fire. So I find that very interesting. 9 is magic. It makes movement. It makes change. And it does it through energy. Whereas you can take another look of change and look at it from a different perspective, through a water perspective. So let's go back. We can make change. And water is an element that the other side of the coin of change, or the yin way of changing, which is active, fire, is transforming. 1 is a number for water, and water is transforming. That water energy is transforming. It changes things. Whenever the 1 star moves around, something's going to be different. Something's going to change. You will transform in some way or in some area of your life, wherever that is. And now, for instance, like 1 is the 1 star this year in 2021 is in the South sector, which is fire. And so you may find that your friendships change or go through a transformation. Your social standing changes or transforms in some way this year. And I'm finding that that my friendships are evolving, and I love that. And this is one of the numbers that I think is one that we need to look to when we want to think about changing in our life. And this isn't something that I often talk about. I know I talk about, put a wind chime here, or paint this color in this corner, that kind of thing. But I want to talk about how, feng shui and the way you act in your life is part of your personal feng shui. That is your manpower, your man luck, and your earth luck that you're influencing. So when we think about feng shui being called the Chinese art of placement, it's really deceptively deep. There's a whole lot more depth to feng shui than just, chalking it up as a decorating method or some sort of fun esoteric kind of practice. Feng shui is related to time and space and elements and colors and shapes and numbers and people and parts of the body. I mean, it's a lot, right? There's a whole element, there's this whole range and whole scope of feng shui. And it's a way for understanding and categorizing energy that's sometimes difficult to understand. We will discover that the qualities of an energy by learning and knowing feng shui. And it's those qualities that make important distinctions for us. Like what I was saying about water is transformative versus fire is changing. And transformation and change, very different acts. You have a result, but you get it by 2 different methods. Now, a man once wrote to me and asked me what the possible difference could there be between a candle and a light bulb, because I had recommended light in a particular location, but not fire. And he was trying to, I think, split hairs with me. And he was saying, well, what's the difference? It's light, it's a candle, it's a bulb, it's a candle, they're both giving off light. What's the difference? And I explained that it's the quality of the light that's the distinguishing factor. Think about it. A light bulb can light up a room, but even the tiniest candle can burn down the whole house. It can burn down thousands of acres, like it happens in California, from just a spark. Just a tiny spark can burn thousands and thousands of acres. But understanding these fine philosophical and kind of physics-related differences isn't what's important. It's the implications that they have on your life that is. And as I said earlier, the number one relates to the north and to water, and it's associated with that wave shape. That's because even one small change can create big waves, right? And the number one is a special number in Feng Shui because, like I said earlier, it relates to transformation. So when you want to make a change in your life, usually it's just one thing that you want to do, like a diet. Maybe you want to exercise or meet someone, find a job, or stop biting your nails. So this is how you can put the number one and the element water to work for you and to help you transform. So let's talk about the power of one and what it means to you and how you can harness this power to bring about more results, more success, and more focus in your life. So let's talk about number one is that one small change can create many outcomes. Dietitians often recommend to patients to make one small change in their diet rather than a whole sweeping diet that's impossible to keep up. So just by cutting out one thing from their diet, like soft drinks, patients can often see a remarkable change in many areas, like their looks, their weight, the way their clothes fit, the way others see them. And it's interesting how you can drop 5 pounds just giving up some sugary drink. There are many ways that you can apply this one small change tactic. Every day, just one small change. Do one small change, and over time, it will have a large impact in your life. So what is one small change that you can make? Maybe a 10-minute walk at lunch. You could give up those morning lattes and save some more money and put that same money that you would buy on your Frappuccino and put it into a jar, and it's amazing what a difference it can make. Even just organizing one drawer a day. One small change can create many positive outcomes and building outcomes. Now let's talk about that singular focus. Now, singular focus is something that can bring big results. So that one thing that you're doing. Now, we're all taught to believe that, like that cat in the poster with a unicycle balancing plates in one hand and bouncing a ball in the other, that in order to be effective, you have to multitask. And this could not be further from the effectiveness truth. It is absolutely true. Multitasking is just a big time waste. And what ends up happening is you don't get anything done. You're very, very busy, but you don't accomplish. And this is the point of having that singular focus, is that number one, remember? And we want to make sure that we want to do one task at a time and not get distracted until it's complete. Then we can pick a single goal. This is another thing we can work on. Pick a single goal for a day, a week, or a year to focus on and work at. This is so important to keep and maintain a focus just of one thing. Find that one thing that you can focus on. You know, at your job, there's like something that has to get done. It's that one thing of the day or the one thing of the quarter or the one thing of the year. If you can stop distractions like those email, audible, and visual alerts, those break your concentration, and it's so helpful if you can eliminate those so you can really focus. You know, they say that to get restarted on something after being interrupted takes 500 times more effort than to continue working on something. So remember, singular focus can bring big results. Now, let's talk about using the factor of one to problem solve. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the call about Brian Tracy, there was a cassette tape that I had listened to, and it was about a relationship that I was having some really severe difficulties. And yet, you know, relationships, they're hard to leave, right? Breaking up is hard to do. Isn't that what Neil Sedaka sang about? Anyway, it was hard breaking up, but it was the one thing that was really standing in the way of my happiness. It's interesting how relationships can start off as bringing you happiness, and then sometimes when you know it's not right, you know it's the one thing that's causing your most unhappiness. So let's talk about how if there's one problem you have that stands in the way of your happiness and your personal well-being and enjoyment of life, let's think about the following questions. If I handled blank, my life would be instantly happier. Is there anything you need to handle? Many times we have something that we need to handle, And we know we would be much more happier if we would just do it, right? I told my son last night, worrying is not working. And that means he was worrying about all of his school projects that he's got going on. And I said, well, it sounds like you're spending a lot of time worrying and not enough time working. And worrying isn't work. So we've got to work on things, right? Now, here's another one. If I removed blank from my life, everything would be better. What's that one thing that you could remove from your life? Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a job, that is just eating at your soul. Whatever that is, what is it that if you remove from your life, everything would be better? All right, one more. Blank is the one thing that stands in the way of feeling good about myself. What's the one thing that stands in your way of feeling good about yourself? Now, these are 3 examples that I've given you, and one of those might be more meaningful to you than another. And so think about those. Think about which one is the most meaningful to you and is the one that makes the most sense or that resonates with you the most. I know as I'm reading this list, I'm thinking blank if there is the one thing that stands in the way of feeling good about myself. There's something that I've been putting off. And I know that I would feel better about myself because you know how you self-flagellate. You go, oh, I should be working on this and doing that, and you self-flagellate and you beat yourself up internally because you know you should be doing this. But if I were to do the thing, I'd feel so much better about myself. Here's what I can tell you is working to resolve the one major thing in your life that frustrates you is so powerful and freeing and transformative. Let's talk about concentrated feng shui. So if you've got something big that you need to accomplish, you need single-minded determination. This kind of concentration follows the principle of compounding feng shui. If you have an east-facing house, it's painted brown, your quas of success direction is east, and you face east at work, you are compounding or concentrating your feng shui. This is what we want to do with anything that we want to tackle or accomplish in our lives. We want to use single-minded determination to remain focused on that one thing and refuse to be distracted. Make all your efforts at completing that task, whether that's running a marathon, cutting out credit card debt, working on your business, or gaining better health, whatever it is, single-minded determination. Make that the only vision that you see in your life, the one vision. So if you can see yourself maybe without knee pain, or that's for my husband, that was to get his knee replaced, get a brand new knee. So they cut out the old knee and put in a new one. And for him, that was the one thing that kept him from walking, from being able to, we used to take morning walks and we can't do those anymore together because, he couldn't. He just couldn't. It was too painful for him. And his single-minded determination was to get a knee replacement. Think about where you need to put your focus and your single-minded determination. Now let's talk about skill and accomplishment. When we learn a new skill, we have that feeling of accomplishment, and it's a great shift in our sort of inner selves and how we perceive ourselves. We feel better, we feel more competent. What's something that you'd like to learn or accomplish? Maybe it's learning a foreign language or a computer software skill. Maybe you want to travel or go to a completely foreign to you location. Maybe that's in Iceland or Peru. Having a new skill, learning a new skill is a great way to, one, expand your horizons and to feel good about yourself. I can't say enough about learning some type of new skill. I'm constantly doing it as an online business owner. I'm constantly learning new softwares or new programs and new ways of doing business. And learning those new skills always gives me a sense of accomplishment. Well, I hope that today's episode is something that you'll weigh in your mind and think about that one thing that I talked about early on, because that one thing, that power of one, if you can focus on one task, focus on one goal, focus on one skill, focus on the one thing standing in the way of your happiness, focus on one, that's when transformation occurs. And we can use that number one in our one thing that stands in the way of our happiness or success or well-being or health or whatever it is, and use that number to help us gain mastery and feel that the joy of that transformation, so that that one thing no longer stands in the way of our success. All right, well, let me leave you with 3 tips, and that is, I'm going to leave you with those 3 questions again, and that is, number 1, if I handled blank, my life would be instantly happier. Number 2, if I removed blank from my life, everything would be better. And number 3, blank is the one thing that stands in the way of feeling good about myself. All right. I hope those questions help you. If you do have a transformation, if you do find this helpful, drop me a note. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, feel free to leave an iTunes review or a review anywhere you listen to it, if it's on Spotify or wherever you get your 5-minute feng shui. I hope you have a great and a transformative week. I love you very much, and I am proud of you. I know that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind out to do. Take care. I'll talk to you next week.